It's 6 p.m. on Friday, March 22nd, 2024, and we're moving the cows here to the next area here on this third row. So we're still in the stockpile that I set up from autumn, and grass here is pretty good. We got quite a bit of rain. It was drizzling all day, pretty much. It was annoying. I wanted to get out here sooner, but it was still raining. But let's see if you can tell. So over here is where they were. This is where they're going. There's not too much of a difference. There's plenty of grass that's left. I don't see overgrazing. So I'm convinced they're getting plenty of grass. Tomorrow, Saturday, I might not be back in time for an evening move. But I think that might be okay because I actually haven't been counting the size of the paddocks right. And so we actually have 1.5 paddocks left when there's only supposed to be one. So I think if I make it tomorrow evening back in time, I will move them to the next row. Otherwise, I'll just leave them there and move them Sunday morning. You know, I don't think it'll make a big difference, because I'll be coming out early for Sunday morning anyway, right when the sun comes up. So yeah, lots of clover, good stuff, good times. There's some hairy vetch in there, all kinds of good stuff. I don't know what everything is that's growing here, but it's green, and green is good. Trying to build life in the soil, and that can only be done with plants. Plants provide the energy to turn the soil on and encourage bacteria and things like that to grow properly, and funguses. 21, fat as ever, I see. There's the global warming debate. I'm probably going to get a little flag on this video too. Oh, you have to go to Wikipedia and trust what the UN is saying about global warming and stuff. Those guys are liars. They've been deceiving you. They've falsified their data. They've been caught several times. They're politically motivated. It has nothing to do with, carbon dioxide or saving the environment or anything like that. It has everything to do with bringing in a communist world order, shutting down guys like me who just want to be left alone. So the thing about carbon dioxide is it has absolutely no effect on the climate. And we know this because we can measure very precisely the thermodynamic properties of carbon dioxide. And it is very similar to other gases in the atmosphere. And the reason why that is because its shape is very similar to other gases in the atmosphere. Nitrogen and oxygen, there's two atoms of nitrogen and oxygen respectively in the nitrogen atom oxygen molecules, which comprise 98% of the atmosphere. Nitrogen is like 78%, 77 or something like that, some crazy number. Oxygen is 20 something. And carbon dioxide is like a fraction of a percent of the atmosphere. Very tiny amount. It's a trace gas in the atmosphere. But carbon dioxide, the way that the oxygen atoms align in the molecule is in a straight line. And so thermodynamically, it has the same behavior as oxygen and nitrogen, and has very, very similar thermal properties to oxygen and nitrogen. And so there's really no difference between having an atmosphere of carbon dioxide and an atmosphere of pure oxygen or an atmosphere of pure nitrogen. They behave pretty much the same. Now water is different because it has Mickey Mouse ears. So it can rotate and spin in different ways, and so it has a different thermodynamic property where it can actually absorb a lot more heat without as much increase in temperature, which means water is very good for cooling things down or heating things up. Water is remarkable in that regard because of its shape. That's the thing that makes it like that, and its shape and its density. So there goes a rabbit, boom. But let's suppose that you imagined, you bought the fantasy and the lies that carbon dioxide is a poison or it's going to destroy the atmosphere. You've ignored all of the scientific measurements we've done with carbon dioxide in the laboratory and in nature. You've ignored all the data that has been collected, the true data, not the falsified data that they got caught falsifying. And you somehow still believe that carbon dioxide is bad. Let me tell you what carbon dioxide actually is. So there's something called the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle is where the carbon atoms move from one thing to another in a circle. It's a cycle, okay? There's also an oxygen cycle. There's a water cycle even, which is more likely a hydrogen cycle, because hydrogen is really what makes water. It's hydrogen plus 2 oxygens. So when you stick hydrogen out there by itself, it's going to glom onto 2 oxygens and become water. So carbon dioxide is the same way. You stick carbon out there, what's going to happen is 2 oxygens are going to come find it and bond with it, right? So that's carbon dioxide. It's basically carbon with some oxygens attached to it. And it's part of the carbon life cycle. The carbon cycle starts or continues from carbon dioxide. When carbon dioxide is absorbed by plants, along with water, there's the hydrogen, right? Carbon and hydrogen. And with the magic of quantum mechanics and the magic of chlorophyll, which is what makes the plants green, sunlight is able to convert the oxide. I need to charge that wire because that calf was biting that wire like it's nothing. Yeah, see, he's exploring. He's thinking like, hey, I could touch this wire, I won't get zapped. He's getting smart. Anyway, sunlight combines with the water and the carbon dioxide to form sugar. Sugar is basically carbon and hydrogen, and there's some oxygen in there too. But so the oxygen that's already in the carbon and the water, and the hydrogen that's in the water, and the carbon that's in the carbon dioxide, plus the sunlight, that creates sugars. Now, those sugars that the plant creates are the reason why we have a living planet at all. If you were to stop that process completely, everything would die on planet Earth. Everything depends on plants collecting solar energy and converting it to sugar with carbon dioxide and water. Okay? Now, that carbon in the form of sugar, lots of things happen to it, but some of it gets eaten by cows, and the cows digest that carbon, and in the process of digesting that carbon, they produce different carbon combinations. And one of those is carbon dioxide, obviously, but also methane. And methane is the one that they're going to say, oh no, methane is the one that's destroying the atmosphere. What's methane, right? Methane is carbon with 4 hydrogens attached to it. That's all it is. It's just carbon with hydrogens. And what happens to methane is when it's in the atmosphere, it kind of floats around and does nothing, right? It too is a gas, and it too has well understood properties. It's a very, 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 very trace gas. Just like carbon dioxide, it cannot affect the temperature of the planet the way they say it can. It's just ridiculous. And then finally we have some sunlight that strikes that methane and breaks it apart, and eventually it forms back into carbon dioxide and water, combining with the oxygen in the atmosphere. And so that carbon dioxide, some of it came from us, some of it came from the cows, some of it came from some other processes that are completely natural and entirely associated with life. So living things produce carbon dioxide, floats in the atmosphere, and then gets absorbed by the plant to form sugar to start that cycle all over again. That's the truth about carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is practically harmless. You would have to inhale massive amounts of carbon dioxide and massive concentrations to feel any sort of effect at all. You can tell that because when you open a can of soda pop, if you breathe in that gas that's in there, which is mostly carbon dioxide, you'll feel a tingling sensation in your nose. Okay? That's how dangerous this gas is. Even in concentrated levels, all it does is make your nose tingle. Okay? And so it's really not that big of a deal. And even if we're to double or triple or 6 times or 10 times the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it would have no effect. You wouldn't even be able to tell, right? Unless you had a very complicated machine. But when there is actually an effect that carbon dioxide, increasing carbon dioxide would have on the atmosphere and on life on Earth. And it's a very well-known effect. And it's so well known that farmers will actually pay to have carbon dioxide pumped into greenhouses. Because by increasing the carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, plant life flourishes. And the planet will get greener. There'll be more animals, there'll be more trees, there'll be more, the deserts will turn back into forests like they used to be, right? It's not just water that's important to life, it's also carbon dioxide. And so carbon dioxide actually, according to geological records, the current levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere are low, very, very low. In fact, it's so low that many plants are struggling just to survive. And if it were to get much lower, there's a possibility that all the plants would not be able to survive. And as I told you, without plants, everything dies. This planet turns into a dead planet with just dirt. Not even anything else, just dirt. So carbon dioxide levels are at a very low level according to, geology. Carbon dioxide levels are associated with plant life, and the higher the carbon dioxide levels are, the better it is for plant life. And plant life is the foundation for all life on planet Earth. That's why I think we should be raising carbon dioxide levels if possible. Any process to put more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere is a very, very good thing. Okay, it's like creating more life all across the planet. There will only be good things that come. Well, there might be a bad thing. The price of food might drop. Farming might become a lot easier. Maybe we'll recreate the way the earth was during the Garden of Eden in the Bible, where things just grow everywhere and they can't stop growing because there's so much carbon dioxide. Another problem might be that the forests might take over the entire earth. We might have an earth covered with giant forests, with giant trees stretching, thousands of feet into the air. Sea life. Oh yeah, the ocean would be full of life with carbon dioxide levels higher than they are right now, because the algae and stuff in the ocean that converts carbon dioxide to sugar would just be ever present, and so life would be supported at a grand scale that we can barely imagine. So yeah, that would be all the quote unquote harmful effects of carbon dioxide increasing. So take these guys who have lied to you. They have been proven to be liars. They are deceptive, they are manipulative, and they have no science behind them. They have invented things that aren't even true, that are silly, that are so silly that they're hard to refute because they're so silly, and tell them to shove it. Don't go along with the carbon scam. Don't pretend like carbon's a bad thing. And if somebody offers you money to pretend it's a good thing, tell them that you are not dishonest in that way, that you don't like to lie to people. If somebody believes it's a bad thing, tell them that they're stupid, that they don't understand the most basic foundations of science, Tell them that their stupidity is dangerous, because if we lowered carbon dioxide levels, we would destroy this planet and all life on it. You can rest assured that I have certainly researched this topic. Many other people have researched this topic. And some of the most notable people in the climate field, in the climate science field, have researched this topic thoroughly. And because they have spoken out against the carbon scam, they've lost their jobs, they've lost their friends, they've lost their social standing. The whole world basically turned against them because they dared to question the world and show the world that it's wrong. So anyway, have a great day, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.